My name's Alexxis Falcon, and you're listening to the Morecambe Wrestling Podcast.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by, I would say right now, the top female wrestler in the UK. And her accomplishments speak for themselves because she's having an amazing 2026, winning titles all over the place. And when you talk about Morecambe wrestling, this is a history maker, former Alpha Omega Wrestling Women's Champion, a former Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Champion, the first woman to hold titles in Morecambe by two different promotions. And if I'm right, I don't think ever lost either of them in the ring. And now coming back to Morecambe, holding the Revolution Pro Wrestling Undisputed British Women's Championship. That's a third different promotion in Morecambe. So, I think that speaks for itself. She's the best thing to come out of Hull since Dean Windass. I'm delighted to be joined by Alexxis Falcon. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. What an intro, and thank you for having me, Greg. It's been a long time since we last saw each other.
Yeah, which would have been back in the Alpha. We kind of crossed over because I was kind of coming out of Alpha Omega when you were coming in, but we definitely crossed paths back then.
Yeah, I was there when you was it when you got inducted into the Morecambe Wrestling Hall of Fame? I was very, very new. And yeah, I think that was like the first ever time that I met you.
And you've done a lot since then, which we'll talk about, doing so well. But coming back to Morecambe this Sunday for Rev Pro's Bash at the Bay, historic show on the pitch. First time ever on the pitch at Morecambe Football Club. But going back to the very beginning, your professional wrestling debut was actually in Morecambe. Can you tell us a bit about what you remember?
It was. So my first ever wrestling match. So obviously I've been training at my training school that I was at the time, and there was a couple of guys on there who did a promotion called Alpha Omega Wrestling. I know that they were looking for a girl. I was very, very lucky. My friends in that school was like, "We've got a girl. She's pretty much show ready." I wasn't show ready whatsoever. Let me just put that out there. I was absolutely not show ready. Didn't even know the first thing about professional wrestling. I knew how to bump. I knew how to sit. I knew how to do things. Did not know how to put a match together for the absolute life of me. But I didn't know that until I got to the match. And I wrestled a girl called Felony at, like I said, Alpha Omega. I forget the name of the venue. Is it the Alhambra or something?
It was the Alhambra. It's the Alhambra now. Back then, it was known as the Carleton.
Yeah, so it was the Carleton, then it changed to the Alhambra. And I remember it was quite a sunny day when we left my training school. And then I was like, this is such a windy place. Morecambe's such a windy place. Got there, had my match. It was against a girl called Felony, who I don't believe is wrestling anymore. And yeah, I was proper little blue eye, not knowing what I was doing. Got paid 20 Great British pounds to do the wrestling match. And it was so fun. And I remember my friends from my training school telling me on the way there, they were like, it's because I'd done like trainee shows at my school. So I'd had like a couple of matches with like people I trained with them, which was literally like 5 minutes long. And I remember my friend Matt, his name was, I don't know if you remember, Matt Fox, he wrestled in Morecambe quite a lot. And he was like, just so you know, it's real in Morecambe. And I was like, what do you mean it's real in Morecambe? And he said that to me the entire journey to Morecambe, right? Which is a good like hour and a half, 2 hours in traffic. And the entire time he was like, it's still real in Morecambe. And it became like this running joke in the car. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And oh my God, it is real in Morecambe. Those fans, genuinely, it is like you are. I like, bear in mind, no one knew who I was. I came out, and by the end of it, I was literally like, I'm famous. I must be famous. Like, every single person in that room is so, like, invested in everyone they see, even if it's the first time that they've ever seen you. And it's just an atmosphere like absolutely no other. And even when I went back to when Odyssey started after Alpha had shut down and was a few years away from Morecambe, I then became the one in the car saying to all my friends on the way down to Odyssey, guys, it's really Morecambe. And they were like, wow, it is really Morecambe. It really is. Um, so I can't wait to have some like grandmas waving their handbags at me on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because times have changed since I was last. My attitude has changed since I was last in Morecambe. So yeah.
You can say that again. I'll I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna ask about that a bit later on. But yeah, I mean, you must have. Okay, you were very new, but you must have impressed the people at Alpha Omega Wrestling, because I think it wasn't long after your debut you got a title shot against Felony and beat her for the championship. I think probably in maybe only your second appearance, perhaps.
Yeah, it was. It was my second match. So I think it was like my third match. Yeah, I wrestled my first match in Morecambe. Then I had a match at PCW, also in the August. And then I think it was like my third or fourth ever match. And they were like, I'm winning the belt. And I was like, great, I must be sick. Still was not ready to be in a match, certainly not a championship match, but it is a memory that I hold so dearly to my heart. And I will always be grateful to the people at Alpha Omega, in spite of how I am now. And in spite of what my attitude may tell some people, if it wasn't for those people at Alpha who took the chance on me and the people of Morecambe who, made me feel like I was something special, probably wouldn't have as big of an attitude as what I have right now. But I'm forever grateful for him to giving me that opportunity and putting me in that position, because it forced me to learn as well, if that makes sense. Like, kind of like learn as I was going, because like I said, I did not have a clue. Um, I was so green. It was ridiculous. I certainly should not have held that championship, but I did. And I do think that it will have helped me become and shape the performer that I am today.
I think most people who've been in pro wrestling for 5, 10 years look back on the early days and cringe. I know I do. So, but winning the championship so early, you clearly must have had that potential and that talent, and that was recognised. Someone else who had quite an attitude in Morecambe at the time was the self-professed Miss Morecambe, Jenny B, who you had a
Oh,
really big rivalry with. I wonder if that rubbed off on you at all. I don't know.
probably. I learned from her. Oh, I miss Jenny. Um, yeah, she was someone that I had a little rivalry with at Morecambe. Um, we had a great old time. It was very like back and forth. I think she beat me for the Alpha Omega Women's Championship. Um, and we continued the rivalry at Odyssey as well. So, um, yeah, I would say that I know she said she was the self-professed Miss Morecambe, but I would say we both were. If it was like a pageant, I'd say we would both win. um, but yeah, she was brilliant, and I always loved working with Jenny and in front of the Morecambe fans, because they really loved me and they really hated Jenny, and that was just what again made it so special and so fun.
You got the title back off Jenny, so two-time Alpha Omega Wrestling Champion. You were on, I believe, the final show in 2018, towards the end of 2018. What was that like? I've asked a few people who were on that final show, Alpha Omega Wrestling closing down, sort of bit of uncertainty about the future of wrestling in Morecambe. You've been around that point for about a year. You're really established at this point. Fans really like you. I mean, how did you feel?
It was really sad because it was like my first kind of like experience of a wrestling company kind of closing down, or a wrestling company, you know, changing its ways. And like everyone around that venue and everyone involved in that promotion spoke so highly of wrestling in Morecambe, like we're doing now. Um, And I kind of felt like the kind of new kid on the block. Like, I'd only just really started experiencing it. And for them to be told, like, oh, it's going. And obviously I started doing like other shows elsewhere and stuff. And you always think that like when you wrestle on new shows that it's this like new shiny thing, and you're like, oh, I have this new shiny promotion now. So but Alpha was such a special one to me because, like I said, it gave me my start, gave me my first ever championship, and it it was real there. So like the concept that was going away was really sad. It was a really sad day, I thought.
I was at that show. I was sat in the crowd with I'm sure someone you know quite well, Rich Dunn, the NGW
Yeah.
from your home city, promotion at
Yeah.
NGW, which I've had some great experiences there, and you know that is Hull, isn't it? That's wrestling in Hull. So I'm sure you've. I mean, I know you're the champion there. You've got some great experiences there as well.
Yeah, he's fuming at me at the moment because he can't get tickets to Wembley on Sunday, so on Saturday, sorry. So he's not happy with me at the moment. But yeah, I love wrestling in Hull. That's another place that I feel like it's kind of like Morecambe. Like it's very real in Hull. Not quite as real as Morecambe though, is what I will say. But yeah, I love NGW. And big up Rich. I've got time for anyone from Hull. Do you know what I mean? I'll be nice to people from Hull, right? You'll see an attitude change in me there. I'm nice to those people because I recognise them as my own. Do you know what I mean?
And you mentioned the football link there. So Sunday you're going to be wrestling on a football pitch in Morecambe. The day before,
Yeah.
Hull City are in the playoff final, the championship
Yeah.
playoff final at Wembley.
They better add big because I've already booked my train ticket to Wembley and I've already got my ticket for Wembley. So if it gets cancelled with everything that's going on with Spygate, I'll be absolutely raging. So we're gonna hope and pray that it still goes ahead. But
I
yeah,
think
two football pitches in 2 days. I'll have to make an executive decision on which has got the better ground.
I've heard there's some wrestlers from Southampton in Revolution Pro Wrestling. I don't know if that's
There
right.
is. I've already picked a burn with a few of them. Chris Hatch, getting it when he sees me. You best believe that. If Andy Quilden knows what's good for his staff at Rev Pro, he will not have Chris Hatch referee my match on Sunday. I already asked. The only other one I know that's from Southampton is JJ Gale, and I asked him. I said, "Are you a Southampton supporter? Because we'll have words." And he was like, "No, don't worry, I support Arsenal." So yeah, if I find out anybody else supports Southampton, there, that's it, because it's going to be words going on. But they've been booted out now, so and they've absolutely messed Hull City up in the process. So you better hope that I'm not booked on a Southampton shirt anytime soon.
So you could be in a quite a good mood on Sunday, or potentially in a very bad mood.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see. Best of luck though to Hull City, and hopefully everything goes well for them.
Thank you.
Odyssey Pro Wrestling then came along, and a match that I've talked about on the podcast before is a pivotal match in the history of Odyssey Pro Wrestling. It was the first time ever that two women had main evented a wrestling show in certainly in the modern day era in Morecambe Wrestling. That was you and Tonga, Falls Count Anywhere 2022, and you captured the Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Championship. So trailblazing again. Any memories of that match?
Yeah, I just again remember it being like a really big deal that the women were main eventing in Morecambe. Um, Odyssey and Alpha had their similarities. But it did feel like Odyssey was kind of the step up in terms of where they were platforming women. They were having more than one women's match on the shows. They were having certainly more than one. Like it felt like in the like previous Morecambe, it was like a very small division of women. Whereas this time they were expanding it. They were bringing in new girls. They were having like tag matches, four-way matches, two matches on the cards. Like it was. And then for us to be the main event, it was, really special. And to win the Odyssey Women's Championship in the first ever women's main event in Morecambe was just like such a good moment. I think I've got the video on my phone of me winning it, and it's just such like the reaction is just unbelievable for, you know, like again it's really Morecambe, it is that. And you always kind of worry that in like wrestling towns like that, right? Because I kind of get this with NGW as well. I don't worry so much with the likes of like RevPro, because I think that RevPro do an amazing job at platforming their women, and putting their women on the same and holding their women to the same standard as they do any other wrestler. I think that they've invested in their women's division. I think that you know, it's we're now looking we're in an era where we just look at women's wrestling the same as men's wrestling and tag team wrestling and all that sort of stuff. But in the ones where it's like these like it's real there, like Hull and Morecambe, you kind of worry that the women were still like 10 years ago. Does that make sense? Like you kind of have that worry that they still look at the women's matches as the women's match, the one before the main, or you know, the one where you can get up and go get a drink, or go to the toilet break match, as people have called it before. And that moment, like, I'm not saying that was the case in Morecambe, but it's always the worry, right? When you're in these like towns where wrestling is pantomime, right? So for that moment, that was the moment where it was like, okay, women's wrestling is seen on the same level as the men's in Morecambe, which is something I don't think was acknowledged before that. It certainly didn't feel that way the first time I wrestled in Morecambe. It seems to have done a bit of a U-turn since then.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, I wasn't sure whether to bring this up because I don't know how you would feel about it. But recently, Lana Austin and Leah Raven main evented an Odyssey Pro Wrestling show. Lana, though, became the second woman to hold two championships in two different promotions. But again, that shows what you're saying. You know, you laid the groundwork and they've continued it. I know you've had a bit of a. I know you and Lana Austin have crossed paths a few times. I would
Yeah,
imagine
she's like my
you've got.
number one enemy in Brit Rest, but I'm happy to see her
Yeah.
doing well. Um, Especially in Morecambe, you know, like I can see that they would absolutely love Lana in Morecambe, and she's been there. She did Alpha when I was doing it. You know, she's been there for longer than I have wrestling in Morecambe, so that's great to see.
So what was it you would say, Alexxis, was the moment that, you know, this amazing run of success that you've been on, you know, not necessarily as well since you've been in Morecambe, but, you know, starting, you know, while you were in Morecambe, but certainly the last few years, you've just skyrocketed. Is there a moment you can pinpoint where you thought, right, yeah, I'm getting that, you know, you said at the start you were very green when you started. Was there a point where you thought, right, yeah, I'm doing all right at this wrestling lark?
Do you know what? I think for me, I suffer with great. Um, I don't like saying this because I don't like to say my insecurities, but I'm not above admitting that I do have some. That's human, right? And the wicked bitch certainly suffers with a little bit of imposter syndrome. That's normal. Every villain has an arc, right? You know, that's every Disney movie. And for a real long time, even when everyone would tell me, "You're doing really well. You're doing really well. You're doing really well. Oh my god, you won that belt. You're doing really well. Oh my god, you've done this. You're doing really well." And I still felt like I was so behind. And I was like, because you look at it in like, you look at it so like tunnel vision, right? You don't see what everyone else is seeing. It was only kind of, to be honest, just before I got injured in 2024, did I feel like I was starting to find my stride a little bit. I put on a bit of weight in the pandemic. I lost it and in like 2023, 2024, and I felt like I was, I was like in the best shape I'd been in a while. I was wrestling like I felt like I was moving a little bit quicker. I felt like I was understanding a little bit more. I felt like I was having better matches. Then I got injured, and then I came back, and I was like, now I just feel like I'm even worse than I was before, before I went off. Like, so you're in this, and that's the thing with wrestling. Like, you're always in this like never-ending cycle of anxiety, and then you do well, but then you're anxious about it, and it's just like you constantly like that. I only really started to feel like I was getting my stride again post injury in November last year, and that was really cemented when I had my match with my absolute arch nemesis, Kanji, at Rev Pro in Sheffield this year. And I felt like I know I am. I know my character now. I know her inside and out. And I think that that's something that I've got that not a lot of people in wrestling like I don't want to say wrestling's the easy part. It's absolutely not, right? And it took me a long time to learn the wrestling. But I do feel like something that I have that sets me apart from a lot of other people on the scene is knowing fine well who Alexxis Falcon is, knowing where I draw the inspiration from, knowing that I don't give, it got to a point where I was suffering with this imposter syndrome. And then I saw this like thing, and it was like about people's perception of you, because people love to put their opinion on the internet, and people love to tell you their opinion of what they think of you as a worker, and all this. And it got to the point where I was like, I actually don't care. And that's, I guess, where the wicked bitch persona came from, because I was like, all right, great, you're not paying my bills. Do you know what I mean? Like, and in the famous words of RuPaul, if they're not paying your bills, pay those bitches no mind. And it just got to a point where I was like, no, do you know what? I know who I am. I'm finding my stride. Like me or hate me. Like, I'm aware I'm like Marmite, and I'm like that in real life. Um, and it got to a point where I was like, I know my character, and now I can figure out the wrestling around that. Whereas I think a lot of people will figure out the wrestling and then try and figure out a character to fit in with the wrestling that they've picked. And then obviously like that match with Kanji, I really felt was like the turning point for me of just being like, I'm just gonna unapologetically be the wicked bitch of wrestling. I'm gonna unapologetically be Alexxis Falcon. And then obviously I went on to wrestle Mercedes Monet, and I had amazing success. In like that week is still so overwhelming for me. I had to literally come off my phone because I was just so overwhelmed with messages and tweets, and you can't look away, right? You see it all, and you're like, God, what's everyone saying now? Like, you just can't look away. But even that was like confirmation that I'm on the right path, and I feel like I'm doing well. But it's been a long time of me, 9 years nearly of me trying to figure out who I am and how to do this mad world of wrestling, right? Most people will figure out who they are a year in, and I envy those people, not above admitting that I can get a bit jealous. But I think I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't have had the path that I'd had. Does that make sense? I don't know if that was a very like political answer, but it's hard to kind of condense it all into a like nice 2 sentence answer for you.
No, it does. It does make sense. And I mean, that win over Mercedes Monet at high stakes, wasn't it, earlier this year for Rev Pro is hugely talked about and hugely significant because Mercedes Monet, all those championships, hardly ever loses. What an incredible achievement for you to beat her. But also you touched on your attitude and your character, and it is something that really is important in wrestling. It gets, if you can get your character across in video, online on social media, then that's half the battle these days, and that's something you've been doing really, really well. I mean, I remember the stuff you were doing in the I don't know. I don't know if I don't like using these words, but cheeky little buggers. And that
Oh
was
yeah.
an interesting period of time.
Do you know what? I really enjoyed that time, and it was when I was definitely trying to figure out how to, because obviously I was a goodie then, as they'd say in Morecambe, trying to figure out that period of time really helped me figure out who I was, evil or not, right? It allowed me to really delve in to me as a character and look at how I was as a character. Does that make sense? It was eye opening for me to be paired with someone who is such a big character in Charles Crowley, and to be able to kind of not like study him, but almost study him, if that makes sense, because he just knew who he was. And it kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I was like, how do you know who you are already? Like, I've been wrestling longer than you, so like, how do you know who you are when like it takes so long to kind of figure that out? And that sort of really let me like delve into like the Disney side of things that I wanted to do. You know, when I first started wrestling, I was doing the whole like, I'm the rock chick, because it's such a cliche like wrestling gimmick. And I had red hair, and everyone thought that I had red hair because I was the rock chick, but actually I had red hair because I really wanted to look like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Um, and it got to the point where I was like, I'm just doing this gimmick because I feel like that's the gimmick that I should be doing. And it's not me, it's not who I am, it's not like I love Disney, I love all that sort of stuff, I love fairy tales, I love villains. And I was like, that's where I need to be looking, like not this like, oh look at me, I've got a cool rock music song and I've got red hair. Like, no, my hair was red because I wanted to look like a Disney princess. um so yeah, it was kind of finding that balance on becoming who I am now.
And it's getting attention, and that's what it's all about as well. And you certainly do that. Progress Women's Champion, Revolution Pro Wrestling Undisputed British Women's Champion. I think you just earned yourself a championship match at Pro Wrestling Eve as well at Wrestle Queendom. So yeah, just one big moment after another really this year. And let's bring it to Bash at the Bay this Sunday, returning to Morecambe. I spoke to the Revolution Pro Wrestling promoter Andy Quilden just before we started the podcast, and I'm not even sure if you were aware of this, but he told me that you're likely to be facing Myla Grace this Sunday. Yeah. Myla Grace is very successful, TNA, really making a name for herself. What are your thoughts on hearing that?
Myla Grace is doing very well. I'm not going to dispute that Myla Grace is doing very well. However, Myla Grace is a bad role model for all the children of Morecambe, unlike me, because Myla Grace wears far too much makeup. She has fake hair. All my hair is real. All my eyelashes are real. My makeup's real. Like, I don't wear any makeup. I've had a little bit of Botox. That's it. Myla is caked in it. She's a bad role model, unlike me. And I know that she'll bring everything that she learned from Marigold and TNA and all this, but I don't know if you can out wrestle someone who is prepared to stoop to the lowest of lows to keep this bad boy right here. I'll do absolutely anything. So Mr. Quilden can throw whoever he wants in front of me. And it's a shame that Myla Grace is who I'm going to have to make an example out of on Sunday in Morecambe.
I know you like to read the fans' tweets. I've seen a few videos of you doing that. If you what sort of tweets are you expecting to read about Myla Grace and about this particular match?
I'm expecting more people who are just trying to slide into my DMs to see if I'll sell them pictures of my knickers, telling me that how great I am and that I should be the Revolution Pro Wrestling Women's Champion forever and ever and ever. In hopes that maybe I'll reply to them one day. I'm expecting a few of those. I'm expecting a few Myla Grace fans as well. But again, she's just caked in makeup, so they can say whatever they want about her, but the outcome will remain the same. Since I've been in Morecambe, there's a new attitude. So hopefully, the people of Morecambe have managed to figure out 5G internet by the time I get there. And they can send me a few tweets as well.
We get one or two, but you're absolutely right. You have changed quite a bit since those early days. I just wonder how the Morecambe fans are gonna react to the wicked bitch. Very different to what they used to from Alexxis Falcon.
And well, I think it's just character building, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I was young then. I was a young. I wasn't jaded by anything. I've been a bit jaded since then. And I learned that being nice gets you nowhere. So if it's like, I'm expecting there will be a few people in at Bash at the Bay that will be diehard Morecambe wrestling fans. I think they might remember who I am. And if they do, they're probably going to be very, very, very bitterly disappointed in the attitude change. But I don't care, so.
I just wonder how my co-host on the Morecambe Wrestling podcast, the Odyssey Pro Wrestling ring announcer Silent Mark's going to react, because he's always talking about how he was the first person to announce you to the ring in Morecambe.
I don't remember Silent Mark. I don't remember him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that might break his heart.
Sorry, Silent Mark.
That may break his heart. I may have to reintroduce you on Sunday, and maybe that'll jog your memory. But
please don't.
Let's talk about how you're feeling though in general about this show, because this is history. This is, I was trying to think of just British wrestling shows, or any kind of wrestling show in general, which has been held with a ring on the football field. And I'm aware there was a WAW show at Norwich City a few years ago, and obviously famous ones at Wembley Stadium. But this is quite rare. I mean, and as somebody who wrestles around the UK a lot, Alexxis, are you aware of much happening like this?
No, I think it's real exciting. Like, when I was told that they were going to be running Morecambe Stadium, I was like, that's so sick. I'm a football fan myself, so like the concept of wrestling like a ring on a football pitch, like I think that's sick. It is going to be like history making, and I'm really glad that it's Rev Pro that are doing it, because Rev Pro prides itself on being pro wrestling at its best, right? That's literally their slogan, is pro wrestling at its best. And for a company like Rev Pro to come to Morecambe, sure, that crap, because it's such a different demographic of fans. Like that's what I think, that like a lot of the people, like maybe backstage, maybe people who are working the show, are not quite going to understand. I'm now going to be the one saying to everyone before the show starts, guys, it's really Morecambe. I'm going to be doing that again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be running around telling everyone, like, it's really Morecambe. Because I don't know too many people on the Rev Pro shows that did the Odyssey and Alpha shows. From the top of my head anyway. I know that there's like a few, I know there's an Odyssey match going on, but I'm talking like Rev Pro roster. I don't know if there is any. Forgive me if I'm wrong there.
Just Shah from many years ago, even before Shah wrestled at the Morecambe Dome. So that's going back nearly 20 years.
Oh God, that's well before my time. So yeah, so you've got like only two of us who know and appreciate what is about to come out of this. Like, we're gonna get the sickest reactions. It's on a football pitch at Morecambe Stadium. Like, that's so sick, and to have it be the best, because I do believe that Rev Pro is the best, you know, company in the UK, and it's got the best pro wrestlers, and to have such a like the top indie talent in the UK now wrestling at the place where it's real. It's like what everyone dreams of, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like everyone dreams of like getting the reactions that the Morecambe fans will give you from doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like the second you go out, they're gonna give you them that reaction, and it can be hard when you're in companies like Rev Pro because they're seen as they're seen as the top. So there's like everyone's like, oh, we have to go and like kill ourselves to really like justify a reaction, because fans these days are so like programmed into, if someone's not breaking their neck, they're like, eh, you know. Whereas in Morecambe, it's not like that. So for them fans to be able to see like the best professional wrestling, I think they're going to be blown away, personally.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and it's going to be such a great day, and the weather forecast is looking good. Fingers crossed, which is
Oh,
half the battle
good.
for an outdoor show. Which I'm sure people organising Rev Pro have been keeping an eye on that, but it's looking all right. So yeah, it should be a good day, and it'll be great to have you back in Morecambe, Alexxis, and really interesting to see you write another chapter in your storied history in this town.
Does that mean I'm the only person to have like defended 3 championships, male or female, in Morecambe?
I think that's possibly true, but may need to look that one up just to
In
be
that case,
absolutely
if that's
certain.
true, I need you to find that out for me, Greg, right? And if that's true, you best believe I'm coming out with a microphone and letting everybody know to actually roll out the red. I want a red carpet, to be honest, when I get there. I'm going to say, look, what's the budget for a red carpet here, lads? Because I need one on that football pitch to get me to the ring.
I promise you, I will look in my little book and double check that fact. But I'd be very surprised if that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it might be the case.
Well, let's say that anyway. And history going to be made once again this Sunday at Revolution Pro Wrestling Bash at the Bay. And Alexxis Falcon returns to Morecambe as the undisputed British Women's Champion. Alexxis, it's been a pleasure catching up with you, and
And
see you
you.
on Sunday.
I'll see you on Sunday. Thank you so much.